This is a very important occasion for everyone who is concerned with development as a human right across the world. And I feel that I'm really privileged to be part of this. I'm very sorry I could not be with you in person, but I do feel that I'm with you in spirit. So thank you for allowing me to be part of commemorating a very important introduction to the right to development across the world, and for bringing this forward as an important agenda item for policy makers, both nationally and internationally. When we think about the right to development, we usually think about the rights that citizens have vis-à-vis their own governments. And so we think of the importance of how the state can deliver what we consider as the essential human rights, whether it is in terms of food, education, nutrition, sanitation, or the civil and political rights as well. These are all duties and obligations of governments. However, we often do not recognize that how we deliver the right to development depends on the international context and on institutional structures that can sometimes inhibit or constrain states from delivering these rights. We have talked about how international trade and investment regimes can sometimes be inhibitory. But one crucial area that I believe has not been adequately looked at is the issue of the control over knowledge. In particular, the methods of creating knowledge, disseminating knowledge, allowing access to knowledge, and ensuring the use of knowledge in socially productive and democratic ways. These are all very important concerns. And in fact, these concerns have become, I would argue, significantly more important in the past 2 decades. Ever since the international property regime became enshrined in international trade law, and ever since it actually generated a change in the domestic laws of many countries, we have seen a significant increase in the concentration of knowledge. And monopolies of knowledge, I think today, are some of the most important impediments to ensuring the right to development. I'm going to give a few examples that I think will illustrate what I'm trying to say. The most important example is probably the best known, and that has to do in the area of public health and medicines and access to life-saving drugs. We know that the TRIPS agreement and the associated patent laws in many countries have generated a system of production and distribution of drugs that is often impossible for poor people in a country to actually access the drugs. We know that the TRIPS regime has allowed companies, especially multinational drug companies, to extend monopolies through Me Too patenting. We know that many life-saving drugs are not available in sufficient quantity or quality to poor people who will require them in order to survive. We know that inequality in the distribution of these drugs has become an extremely important concern for many developing countries and even in the developed world. So the issue of control over knowledge and how it affects life of people through the access to life-saving drugs is a very, very important and well-known one. But there are other areas that I want to highlight. There is the issue of agriculture, which still accounts for half of the world's population in terms of the workforce and is, of course, an essential item of consumption. It provides food for everyone. Now, we know that there are growing monopolies in terms of seeds and other inputs. We know that access to knowledge, control over knowledge, and control over how knowledge is used by farmers and by those who will consume the products, all of this has a crucial impact on development, and it has a crucial impact on people's human rights. Now, consider how monopolies over seed can prevent farmers from accessing the best technology. Consider how misuse of seeds and not knowing whether to use particular seeds in particular contexts can also generate significant problems for farmers. So both the control over knowledge and the uses of knowledge are absolutely crucial for agriculture. We are not paying adequate attention about how the right to development is often impeded by this. Finally, there is the issue of carbon trading, the issue of greenhouse emissions, the issue of how we can have a low-carbon green technology. We had hoped that the Kyoto Protocol would generate a clean development mechanism which was supposed to transfer technology. We know that that has largely failed, that most of the technology that has been transferred has not been very useful or has really not been that which is required and needed by developing countries. And we also know that the newer green technologies are increasingly guarded. We have even seen trade disputes where countries that try to subsidize the new technologies have been hauled up by the WTO and facing disputes that say that they're not allowed to encourage the expansion of such new technologies. So there is a real concern that even in terms of global warming, we're not doing enough in terms of ensuring active dissemination of the knowledge that all of us require across the world. Finally, we are concerned because it's not just the multilateral treaties. Increasingly, there are regional trade agreements that actually create even greater, what we could call TRIPS plus intellectual property control. Many of the regional trade agreements already have TRIPS plus measures. Some of the proposed new ones, like the Trans-Pacific Partnership, contain provisions that are extremely damaging and would greatly extend the control of private corporations over the uses of knowledge and access to knowledge. We really do need to think about the importance of democratizing knowledge if we are concerned about the right to development, because this is going to become one of the most crucial areas in the future.